Hey friends, it's Tracy. Welcome to today's video. I absolutely find so much inspiration when scrolling through Pinterest, and so I have put together a collection video of my favorite Pinterest inspired Christmas crafts. So let's go ahead and get started. My first project is this Jingle All The Way block. Now what I'm using is a 2x4 that is cut down to 12 inches. The paint color is True Red. It's an Americana acrylic paint. What I'm going to do is give this a block 2 coats of this red paint. Now those yellow pyramids, those are like risers where if you have painted things, they can help hold up your item, whatever you're doing, so that, it doesn't stick to the table or to the paper or something like that. I find them very handy. I think I got those over at Hobby Lobby a few years ago, but you can find some if you're interested in that. Now, before I hand letter, I want to make sure that I leave enough space for my bow, because that'll be, I'll be putting that on after I finish painting and everything is dry. So I'm using a 1/4 inch flat paintbrush and just doing some hand lettering here. Now, if you cannot hand letter, or if you don't want to, you can use stickers, you can use a die cutting machine, you can use markers, paint pens, anything to put letters on to your painted projects. I just do have the gift of hand lettering, and I do like to share this on my channel. All right, so then I'm putting on my happy dots. That's one of the things that I love to do. And I want to use a smaller brush. This is probably like maybe an 1/8 of an inch brush. And I am just now hand lettering all the way. And then I'll put my happy dots on that. I do love to paint. I love to put my happy dots. I love my paint splatters. I love my doodles and all of that good stuff. There is a free font that I have found called Geldotica. I have shared that many times before on my channel. It's, a free font that you can download and, have it on your computer that you can practice any fonts. Look in the description box below if that is something that you're interested in. Another thing I like to do is add some doodles, and I'm just using a number 2 liner brush, just going around the outside of the, just around, just to kind of give it a border, and just not being very precise or too worried about it too much. I'm just kind of adding some doodles like that. All right, now I will add some paint splatters. I'm just using some white paint splatters, and how I paint splatter is just by using a stiff brush and a stick and just adding some splatters. To make sure everything is sealed, I'm using this varnish. It is my favorite varnish to use. I just give it a coat of that. And once that is all dry, now is the fun part by decorating in the embellishments. So these are some of the things I'm using. This ribbon is from Hobby Lobby. I've got some pine greenery from the Dollar Tree. I have some pip berries, and I have some 30mm jingle bells. Now I got those jingle bells at Hobby Lobby as well. Okay, so just to start, I am just wrapping the ribbon around the board and just cutting it off and just tying it there in the middle, just enough for that it will stay in place. Then I just took a red glittery pipe cleaner from the Dollar Tree just to put my jingle bells on, because you'll see in a moment how I'm going to attach it all together. So then now I'm just making a simple loop bow, 2 loops on each side for a total of 4 loops. I just cut that off. I twisted in the middle, and then now I'm going to secure everything together like this with that pipe cleaner, so that my jingle bells are on top. And so I just kind of fluff out my bow like that. I just am going to take a piece of pine and kind of, that's why I left that like that where it would hold it, but it would not, it's not all glued down yet. So then now I'm just positioning everything, just, threading everything through. And at this point, I forgot I was going to put in the pip berries, but I forgot as I was doing all of this and, making sure everything is so cute. Now, one thing I want to share, I have a sweet viewer that sent me this tool. It is a wire curling and jump ring mandrel. And so I went online and I found a site for them. I will have a link in the description box below. But what it does, it kind of curls your wire, curls things like that. It has a little slit in the shaft so that you can grab it and go. It comes in different sizes. And so I am so grateful. Thank you so much, Jan, for your sweet gift of these things. And guys, if you're interested to, for something for yourself, go ahead and look in this description box below. Okay, I dovetailed the edges of my ribbons, and then now I'm like, yeah, I forgot to put in my pip berries. So I get these pip berries from Hobby Lobby, and that was not a problem at all. I just threaded them through. Then now I'm just going to hot glue everything down just to make sure that everything is all nice and secure. I wasn't going to, but I had to do it. I had to pull out my black Sharpie marker and go around just to give it some shadowing, just to make it pop. This is just kind of something that I like to do. This is the fine Sharpie marker, and I'm just going around hitting some of the letters just to give it a black outline. My next project, I am making this Oh Holy Night sign. I just think it is has such a statement and it's just so cute. So what I'm using is a frame. I picked this up from a thrift store, but you can get these kind of frames anywhere. I'm also using these letter tiles or like Scrabble tiles. For my background, I'm going to use this ribbon that I've had on hand for quite a while. I had got it at Hobby Lobby on sale. I'm also using a rusty star that I got from Hobby Lobby as well. But there in my Amazon store are rusty stars if you can't find any like that. Okay, so the first thing I did, I wanted to distress this a bit more, so I'm just doing that using my antique wax and a stencil brush. And then I'm going to trim out the ribbon just to fit on the back of with the frame, like the cardboard backing. So I just trimmed that out and I attached it with my Fabri-Tac glue just to keep everything down. And I chose this ribbon because it was dark. It's like a very, very dark navy, and it has like almost a wool texture to it. I'm not quite sure if it's still available, but I just love it so much for this piece. And so I just put it back in the frame there, and then I'm going to measure out how to, how I want to lay everything out. And so I try to figure out how I want to lay it out for the frame so that, it's all nice. So I put down my star first, and then I'm just going to lay out my word tiles, or spell out the words that I want. Like I said, I got these from Walmart, and a tip that I've learned that they're blank on the back, so if you don't have a letter, you can always write the letter you need on the back of a letter that you don't use. And so like for the trunk of the tree, I'm using a Z because a lot of the words that I spell out, I don't need a Z. Anyway, so that's just a tip for you. So I had just laid all of the letter tiles out first, and then now I'm just going back and hot gluing everything so that, you know, everything is secure. This next project is totally my heart, guys. I love Santa. I'm a Santa collector, and so I had to stick this one in there, and I hope you enjoy it too. I'm using one of these Santas from the Dollar Tree. Now, I should have, heated up and taken off the brim and the mustache, but I just was going to wing it, and it ended up taking me more time. So if you can get those off, if you want to repaint this, that would be awesome. Anyway, so the first thing I did is I just took my pencil and drew out a face, like where it separated the face and the beard. I'm using the color medium flesh. It's by Ceramicode. It's my favorite flesh color for my Santas. And so I'm just using a flat paintbrush and just going around and painting it the best that I can. But I'm like, oh, this is not really working. But I just took my time and just went with it and just made sure that everything was painted. Now I'm going to give each section 2 coats of the paint. When I get to the hat, I'm using my favorite Santa hat color, which is Barn Red, and just using, I should have used a larger brush size, but this one was the one that I was using, so I'm like, I just went with it. Anyway, so I'm just painting the sides as well as, the top with Barn Red. And once I finish that, I'm going to go back. I'm using warm white for the beard and just using that like for the mustache as well as the beard. And so that's what I'm showing right there. And I kind of had to go on the sides, and then it was getting on the other part. And so I'm like, gosh darn it, Tracy. Taking the time to take those little pieces off the best you can so that you would not have this issue, guys. I was really struggling this day when I was doing this. Anyway, so what you also saw me do was just pencil out the area for his nose. And so then now I'm just going back and just covering all of that with paint. Once that is all completely dry, we've reached my favorite part of the video, or my favorite part to any project is the detailing. Guys, you will hear me say many times that the beauty is in the details. And so I love to shadow my projects, and they're, different painters shadow different ways, but how I do it, I'm using a 1/8 of an inch flat paintbrush and just going around and just doing some shadowing. I dip half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water, and then I blend on a paper towel. Then I go around the edges of my painted projects just to give it some shadowing. I'm using the color Light Cinnamon. This is an Americana brand, and what you can see right there is I got too heavy-handed on my shadowing because, yes, I left that in because I just want to share for those of you that like to watch me paint. I do, have errors, and I do have to go back and kind of clean up. And I leave this in. I share this with you to say that no matter how long have you been painting, how long have you been crafting, you're still going to, have some oopsies or some things that you're like, that doesn't look too good. So anyway, I'm going to show you in a minute how I go back and I fix that, because I do want to encourage anyone that wants to learn how to paint or, hand letter or just craft like this. Just take your time, go back and fix it. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the white, just to go around and add some white shadowing to the outside of the hat, as well as I will go back and fix some of the white on that brown where I got a little bit too heavy-handed. I'm going to go ahead and add some white to that so that it blends in a bit more. So like I share, I try to share, I tried to be encouraging, just to say if it's not what you want, then we're going to go back and fix that. Okay, I'm just taking a stencil brush and I am taking some coral color paint, and I'm just stippling some cheeks on. I like my cheeks more rectangle up and down, so that's why I do that. Then I'm going to draw on some eyes. Now, once this project was totally finished, I wish I would have made my eyes a little bit bigger. So what I do is I like the more almond shape eyes, and so I do that, and then I go back in. I start with a black marker, then I go back in and fill it in with paint. Okay, so then I have a very loved thin liner brush that has been with me for many years that I make some eyelashes. Then now I'm just going back and just taking a brush and just going and putting Santa in some eyebrows. Then I take that very loved liner brush. It's missing some bristles. It's been with me for a long time, like 20 years plus. And I just go and make the whites of the eyes, as well as just add some character for his cheeks. I give him a little swoosh for his nose, and then we're going to move on to the next step. So I love my black Sharpie marker. It is my best friend, and so I just go around and outline everything just to make my painted projects pop. Then I'll go back with an ultrafine Sharpie marker and just go around just to add some outline to the cheeks as well as the eyebrows. Now I'm going to move on to highlighting, and just taking a number 2 liner brush that is also in that paint pack that I shared earlier. And those are listed in my Amazon store if you are interested. Okay, so then I just go around and just add some highlight. Now I want to share this with you. I've been paint splattering for many years, a long time, and I still get a little heavy sometimes. You can see on Santa's the ball of his hat, I'm like, oh goodness, girl, you got a little too heavy there. So what I'm going to try to do is, because I don't want to repaint this, I'm going to try to take some white and kind of mask that a little bit. And then that was coming on a little thick too. So we were really paint splattering that day when I was doing this video. I share this with you only because it happens to me too. Hey guys, make sure that you protect your area, your cover, your table or whatever, because paint splattering is messy. For my jolly, I'm going to use my paint marker, my Posca 5M, and I just hand lettered Jolly, just adding some happy dots on there as well. I put it off to the side because I'm going to be adding some pine and some homespun fabric to the other side of his hat. Now I've discovered this Americana gloss sealer. I got this at Michael's, and I use this because for my painted projects that I hand letter with the Posca pens, because they do have a tendency to smear with the liquid brush on varnish. I found this and it works good. They have a matte and they also have a gloss, and I found it at Michael's. Now I'm going to move on to the tag. Now this tag is from the Dollar Tree, and I just took off that bottom part, and then I was going to try to remove the paper, but I'm like, why girl, you just going to cover it up anyway. So, then I thought, well, maybe I'll use the back, and I used my heat tool to get off those stickers, but I'm just going to cover it up, and I just went with the front anyway. So this is the paper I'm using. This is the pad it came from. It is from the Paper Studio, which is a Habe Labe brand. So what I need to do is, because the paper's not quite long enough, I need to piece it together, which I did with no problem. I used some Mod Podge just to attach the paper, smooth everything out, and then we're moving on and we'll complete this tag. Just turning out so cute. Totally my style. I wanted to add a bit of whimsy to my sign, so I pulled out some rickrack. Now I got this at Hobby Lobby. Just cut it down to size using my Fabri-Tac glue as well as some hot glue, and just putting 2 pieces of the rickrack, one at the top and one at the bottom. Now to attach my Santa, I like dimension, and I like my signs to have some dimension. So what I used is some tumbling tower blocks that I already had painted for a different project and decided not to use, so they turned out perfect for this particular project. So to get my just to make sure everything is nice and secure, I like to use E6000 as well as hot glue to glue everything down. So then my sign is all finished. I just thought it was finished. I need to make a bow for my Santa. Yes, Santa can have a bow, a cute, whimsical country bow. So I'm using some homespun. Now, I've been getting some questions about where people can buy homespun fabric. You can get that, guys, at Walmart, Joann Fabrics. Hobby Lobby has it. Also, there is a place that I found online called Jubilee Fabrics. I will have a link in the description box if you cannot find it in your hometown, because they do ship. Okay, so I just cut off 2 strips of that. I'm also using 3 20mm jingle bells. Now, I got those jingle bells from Hobby Lobby many years ago, but I do have some linked in my Amazon store if you cannot find them. So I'm using some pine. I just cut that pine in half, and then I just have some sisal twine that I made a small bow. So at first I was going to thread on my jingle bells with a pipe cleaner, and I had like a why is this not working? And I'm like, you silly girl, you don't use pipe cleaners, you use wire. So I go back in a bit and take off that pipe cleaner with those jingle bells and use my wire, my thin wire that I like to get from the Dollar Tree in the automotive section. That is my favorite wire right now. And so I'm kind of struggling with this. I'm like, why is this not twisting? Why is this not working too good? And so I kept this in here to share my struggles with you guys, because I do. I share this only to encourage you. My projects have a lot of different steps, and I am so grateful that there are so many friends that appreciate it and that leave me the sweetest comments to say that you have learned so much just by watching. It's very entertaining. You shared some of your struggles and your stories with me, and I am so grateful that you are here. So at this point, I'm like, oh, I forgot to put my sisal twine bow in there. So I just kind of tucked it in underneath there and made sure that everything was nice and secure. Now, for the top, I just cut out a circle and then just punched out another circle on the top, just to give it just some decoration at the top. Okay, here are the supplies I'm using for this cute little nativity setup. I'm using 2 of these blocks from this tumbling tower set that I picked up from Five Below. These are the larger ones. And then these 1 smaller tumbling tower block that is from Dollar Tree. So you can kind of see the difference. And then I have 2 20 beads that I'm using for Joseph and Mary's head, and then a 15 millimeter split ball for baby Jesus. Have a piece of burlap. Now to give the color for the wood, I'm using this antique wax that I'm just going to put it on with my with a baby wipe. Also, so that Mary is just a head shorter of Joseph, I just cut off a little piece of that block just using my saw. I've decided to add 1 more of those larger tumbling tower blocks and paint it with a couple of coats of this plaster color chalk paint. This is going to be just a little sign that I'm going to hand letter on. Once I have all of my little wooden pieces, colored and stained, I have this piece of gingham fabric that I'm going to use for the headscarf for Mary. And so I'm going to have the jagged edge or the ragged edge on top of her head. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these. I'm going to use hot glue and some E6000 so that it gives a permanent hold. And then this is the piece of burlap I'm going to wrap around baby Jesus, and I'm just going to use some sisal twine, a piece of that, to tie it around. For the sign, I have this piece of craft cardstock, and I'm going to hand letter on here, tear the edges, distress them, and then glue it onto the block just to give it a little different look and some texture and dimension. To add a bit of shimmer and sparkle, I have this puffy paint in gold. It's kind of translucent, and I'm going to just put a coat over the sign just to give it a little shimmer. When I picked my beads, I didn't realize that the hole would be showing at the top. I didn't give that a thought. So I just pulled out a piece of this brown fabric. It's kind of like muslin, and I'm going to put that for the head thing for Joseph. Just going to use some E6000 and hot glue just to glue this together so that it stands just like that. And it's a little cute shelf sitter. Now, if someone wanted to, put a jute hanger on it, it could be easily transformed into an ornament.